I'm here, Flip Anything USA. So today I have a special guest, Gerald Peters from Full Auto. Thanks and welcome, Gerald.
Hey, appreciate you having me, man. As you know, I've been through your mentor course. I've been following you for a long time. Rick Jarman put me onto you years ago.
Was that the old guy, old school?
Yeah, older fella. He passed away during COVID.
Yeah, I was sorry to hear that, because he would regularly I did a video on him. He would leave messages for me. I never
Yeah,
talked to him directly, but we traded audio messages
I,
here.
I he was a neat older man. I actually was thinking, I know this sounds silly, retiring or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Like I got a few mil. I don't owe any debt. I live pretty nice in a small country town. I get a beach house and call it. And then I bump into Rick and he's got 128 houses. He's 60 something years old, flipping houses, buying lots, very similar to yourself. And I'm like, he's like, Gerald, you got a lot of work to do because he's so Southern.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. He
yeah.
was an interesting guy. Like I say, I didn't really get to know him other than trading some audio messages and but
I tell you one thing about him, if people don't know him, his account's still on Instagram. He didn't sell anything. And but he was similar to yourself, man. He'd call me, he'd text me and go, Gerald, look at this boy. You think he's real? Because
uh-oh.
he had that sense too, he could smell it.
Now that's the thing. That's why you don't see me. I don't have a lot of collaboration friends. Let's just put it that way. And one of the reasons is because the real estate mentoring, coaching stuff is kind of just it's filled with frauds. To be quite honest,
You've seen the DJ one, right? You've seen this recent one with the radio DJ and his friend.
No, I don't care. I don't really watch it. My encounters are basically people that come to me because I was like old school. I had a channel and I'd help people for free all the time, but I got tired of answering the same questions, over and over again in an email. And I type like 9 words a minute. I'm terrible. So it's not something I would enjoy doing anyways. And so I tell people, look, if you got a question, ask me online or ask me, in a live video, because then everybody gets the benefit of the answer and I can tell somebody go find it, in a video. But yeah, so no, I don't keep up with the fakes. Actually, I just interviewed Spencer Cornelia, and he's kind of a fake guru hunter. And I did a video on him because he made some terrible investments buying out of town, making some kind of mistakes that he knew would make. But anyways, let's talk about you, Gerald. So where were you born?
I was born actually in Texas. Raised super poor, single mom, that kind of thing. We would hop from trailer park to just, like that.
Free lunch in school.
Free lunch in school. Didn't know it was bad because everybody around me was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Luckily, my dad, she married a little bit younger guy, and so he's only like 12 years older than me. 11 years older than me. So it was kind of interesting having a stepfather who really didn't think he was old enough to even be a dad. And so it was kind of like hey, I'm gonna be your friend. He didn't really know what to do. He was so young. And but a good guy. He got a job with oil companies, and he was an early computer programmer, which really helped me in life because I've been comfortable with computers and technology since the jump,
Right.
Yeah, and we moved around, and I was just never into college or school.
So what town did you start out in, or where'd you go to high school?
Well, every year I went somewhere different. My dad would follow the oil money, so we bounced Beaumont, Texas. Started out in Corpus Christi area, Beaumont. That's an oil area. If you ever been in that area of Texas, and then we would go to Juneau, Alaska. So most of my youth, I grew up in Juneau, Alaska.
Yeah. I had a little bit similar moving around. It was more aircraft related. My folks divorced too, and my dad followed aircraft jobs, and they're kind of like oil, come and go.
Yeah, come and go, boom and bust. You're flush with money or we ain't got no money.
Yeah, that's true. So you get out of high school, then what'd you do?
I had no interest in taking on student loans, and my dad wasn't about to start paying for no college. And, he was a Marine, and a good friend of mine was really into the military. And I was like, I'd go there 4 years, get some money for school maybe, and, kind of push it off. I wasn't really wanting to go to school.
Mhm.
And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And people would ask me, like, what do you want to do for a career? It's like, man, I just want to make some money, man. Like, I don't care if we were selling cups or hot dogs, man. I didn't have any passion for a career.
So did you enlist?
Yeah, I did. I ended up doing 7 years. But I was kind of at that point where it was either you need to stay in and do this, but that's definitely not a route to make a lot of money, or get out. And the one thing that, I wasn't I enjoyed the military. I'm a shut up and follow orders kind of guy. I can read the room. That's one of my specialties. If I walk into a room, they could be ultra wealthy or, straight from the street. I can fit in. And that gave me a work ethic of what it's like to really be cold, what it's like to really be hungry, have someone shoot at you. And I think I brought that back. And about this time, I met a sergeant when I had three things in my life that really shaped me. I met a sergeant when I was there. He was a young guy. And on the table, he had his bank statement. It was like $113,000. And I look at it, and I can't help but be nosy. And I'm like, bro, is that in your account? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, how? He goes, I saved it.
Damn.
As dumb as that sounds.
How old was he?
He was maybe 23, 24. He had joined, he had been in, and he had just saved all his money. And I was like, why? And he goes, I'm gonna buy one of those oil changing shops.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the first guy I'd ever bumped into that had money and a plan.
And a goal.
And a goal. And I was like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. It's something as silly as that. And then I realized I don't. I'm floating, man. And
so now how old are you now? You're just getting through the military at some point?
Yeah, I'm in I went in at 19, 18, 19. This is probably I'm 21, 22. And that's why I re-enlisted, because I was going to be getting out with exactly what I had when I went in, nothing. And I realized that was dumb. And it would be easier to save money doing another 3 and go into a combat tour or something and just stack up cash. That was my plan. And then I read shortly thereafter, when I got out, I had money and I didn't want to spend it. And I read the book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. It just started coming out. And I read that. And that's one of those motivation books, but you don't know what to do with it.
I've never read it.
Yeah, it's one of those books that, like, you were already rocking and rolling when that came out, though.
Oh yeah, I started early. I was lucky. I just got into it early.
Mm-hmm. And that's a huge part of it, right? I teach that time times amount times yield is a huge thing, man.
Yeah, no, there's a book by Gail Sheeg called Pathfinders or something like that. But it basically the gist, it's like a self-help if you're going through, heartbreak or something. That's probably why I picked it up a long time ago. But I can barely get through any book, to be honest. I get what I want out of it and I'm done. But
yeah,
basically it talked about people, somebody can fall in love at 15, somebody can fall in love first time at 35.
right.
Same bullshit. Go through the same stuff.
Yeah.
And,
You ever have that where your 50-year-old friend is acting like a kid and you're like, what are you doing? And it's like, you realize this first time they've ever really been in love,
Yeah, exactly. And so that's it. That what I took away from that is there's just a lot of different things that people encounter for the first time in their life. And sometimes it's making money. And
you're right. Like we're trying to mentor a 40-year-old man and you're thinking, dude, you should be. And then you realize this could be the first time he's ever even considered this.
Well, I mentor people with real estate primarily. And so, people but be like your guy, they have cash, but no assets other than that cash. And, but they don't know how to, they don't want to risk it. That's the best kind of investor, to be quite honest, I think, is somebody that has a discipline to save money because they're very careful and they're disciplined. They've already shown discipline.
Right. The worst is the risk taker with no money. I mean,
yeah.
It's hard to coach them.
So you get through, what came first, stocks or real estate? Gerald is primarily a stock guy, right? Yeah.
I'm primarily known for teaching that. That's what I've done as an influencer, I guess you'd call it. Although I have 3 times my wealth in real estate than I do stocks. And And so basically I teach the stocks and I kind of add the real estate as a bonus if they want to hear it. Because I've never really saw myself as a professional real estate guy, but you know how it is. You start buying it, you can't help but get rich.
Yeah. Have you made more wealth from real estate or stocks?
Yeah, for me, definitely from real estate. But I would do that all the time. I would every day after work, every day I'm working on houses. I did a lot myself. And so to relax, I like to play poker. I like to gamble. But once you start having a family, that's not a good activity for a young man, right? Your wife doesn't
Yeah,
appreciate.
you know what? I don't even like gambling. I never have. I don't like being lucky making money. I just, for me, it's just, I could, I've gone, thrown money down and win, and
That's how I got into stocks, was to relax, because I like to read, I like to listen, I like to follow the drama, and I just kind of took to it, and then I started making money. And it's one of those things that if you don't, kind of like real estate in a way, if you don't do it right, you can really put yourself in a pickle.
Right.
And I just,
what came first, stocks or real estate?
Real estate. And I'll tell you why. I had $15,000 saved. I was working as a part-time prison guard, and because they gave me full health care, and I had a lawn care business going, and I was making more money mowing yards than I could make as a prison guard. So I worked 2 days a week at the prison. It gave me full state benefits. They were so hurting for officers. So I had 5 days a week to do my thing. And my wife, we weren't married at the time, but she had a master's degree. And I basically told her, listen, if we can live off your income, I'll give you my check basically from the prison thing. You just put it in the account. Everything I make, let's invest all of it. And that was our strategy, to live on one income, fully invest the other. And then, being a hustler and a worker, all of a sudden, I get my income from 30,000 to 70 to 80 to 100, and we're investing as much as we can.
What was your first property? What did you buy first?
My very first deal was actually 2 houses on 2 separate lots, but a mom lived in one, a son lived in the other, and she had gone off to the assisted living home. And they were 2-bedroom, 1-baths. And the reason I bought these, to back up, she asked me to go on a trip with her she had a friend from 3rd grade. I'm thinking, man, I ain't got time for all this. It was to a lake house with some people I don't even know. Well, she's like, I think you'll like him. He's a young millionaire. And I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I feel broke. I ain't doing, Anyway, I go up there and I meet him, and we start talking. I like him. And he's like, how much you got? And I said, 15 grand. He goes, man, here's what you should do. And he broke down real estate for me. 20% down, buy an ugly house. He showed me how to find FHA deals, all this basic stuff, right? Back in this was 2000. So he broke down how it worked over that weekend, and I just soaked it up, man. And he gave me a book. I read the whole damn thing, gave it back because he said I couldn't take it with me. Yeah. And the moment I got back, kind of like this is it. And I know you see this. I just immediately started doing what he showed me. And guess what happens? You end up with houses. And so first deal it was 75 grand, 2 beat up, 2-bedroom, 1-bath houses. I went all in on it. Had to borrow money from my dad just to have money left in my checking account. And that was it, man. And it had 2 renters in it, paying $350 a month.
Nice. And so, see, you had a little positive income from that. And so, then what did you buy after that?
What's funny is I made $900 after taxes working 2 days a week at the prison, the whole month. Oh. And on those 2 deals, I was making, after I got it fixed up, and and I didn't even spend much, just labor. And I was able to raise the rent to $550 in each. And my mortgage was like $240, which sounds stupid today, right? And I was making almost what I was making at the prison in that first deal. And then that's when I was like, oh man, there's nothing else. This is it.
Goes off, right? Yeah, a light goes off.
This is it. I need 10 of them. And I was thinking so small too. I was like, I just need 10 of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, you raise the bar on yourself, right? I mean, because all of a sudden, I remember I had a similar. I mean, mine was the day I closed the deal when I was 19. I went to pull the for sale sign out of the ground. And the guy thought I was installing the for sale sign and asked me, hey, what do they want for this place? And I said, well, no, I just bought it. And I told him what I paid for it. And he said, I'll give you $20,000 more than you just paid. Wow. And so that was in 1981. And of
Any
course,
given day, man.
yeah. So it sets a fire under you. And so you got those two houses, and so then did you buy beyond that? Did you do more? Or?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I mean, I tell people all the time, I've been broke most of my life, even though I'm worth millions of dollars. And because you know how it is, once you start buying, you're in that constant state of fixing, and it takes a lot of your cash. And I didn't know all these, I see YouTubers and a lot of them have such sophisticated schemes. They're taking money from this guy, and I didn't know any of that stuff. I knew I had to work, get my own money and put it to work,
Yeah.
And so I would do one or two a deal a year. And then, luckily I had a wife that thought it was fun. She likes painting. She likes messing with houses. So basically I got two employees that don't get paid, you know,
Nice.
and we started growing it out. I'm not even thinking like efficiency. I meet kids now and they're trying to talk to me about the most efficient use of time. And I'm like, man, you ain't even got a house, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Put
it's
the work.
unfortunate. This is one of the reasons I just always kind of consider myself on the people side of these things. I could, I make my money from real estate,
Yeah.
and um, most of the people out there selling courses and things, they don't make their money primarily from real estate.
Right.
Uh,
That's the difference.
yeah, and so when you feed on other people, and that's how you begin that's what you do the rest of your life. That's where the money is for you. And to me, it's just terrible because of the amount of stories I hear of people that have paid somebody $10,000 to $30,000, and these are the well-known people, and
Mhm.
they're jaded. And some people, they hang it up for 5 years because they just feel like they got absolutely nowhere, and they got garbage information, and they didn't get mentoring. They got handed off to other students that don't know what they're doing, and that's because the guy that is selling the course can't mentor because he's never been there, he's never done it. But what they can
Yeah.
mentor, and then you'll see some of those guys, they end up mentoring other fake gurus to do what they're doing, because that's what they're admired for, is, hey, how do you get all these followers? And when
Right.
using other people's money. And I consider Grant Cardone in that class. He's one of these guys that he seems to mentor fake gurus more than actual people. He
Yeah,
has,
and it's unfortunate
oh,
because there is a lot of money in that. And I benefited in COVID. I just happened to have a couple books on Amazon. I didn't see myself as any sort of, guru, other than the fact that I enjoyed talking about it like you do. I get satisfaction out of it's really cool to help someone and see them win.
mhm.
There's something to that. And I used to always wonder, well, if a guy's doing so good, why would he talk to me? And now, as a guy who's done pretty well, I want to talk to people,
Sure.
but also my time is valuable. And so I get that dilemma. But then as you start breaking, for me, I immediately go, let me see some of your deals. And I can tell from your deal if you're legit or not legit. When you're buying Class A property at retail prices, it's like, come on, man, you're not doing the same thing I'm doing.
Oh, well, if you're talking about YouTubers that are just
Yeah.
converting YouTube money into real estate, they're just changing the form of the asset. But I don't know why these guys feel like they got to extrapolate their YouTube success to. I mean, I guess I do, because they kind of mislead, you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, there's a
And
guy out there. He's famous. I guess we can say names on your channel. Mr. Meet Kevin, and he was a realtor and he sold retail houses. And I used to watch his YouTube, and it was kind of funny. And he would pick on Cardone, and I thought that was funny. Next thing I know, I mean, he's just buying overpriced retail houses in California, and he's like, "Oh, I got a $6 million portfolio." Well, that sounds impressive to a kid from Nebraska,
yeah, and I
but it's
like Meet
retail
Kevin.
houses in California. I mean,
Yeah, I know what you
6
mean. And I
houses.
like Kevin. In fact, Kevin actually
Yeah.
reached out to me and originally, and he's very nice. And
Oh yeah, I love his. He's an entertainer, dude. He is funny.
he's a rock star as a YouTuber for sure.
Mhm.
And but but yeah, so
But he's not doing what I'm doing, buying ugly houses, fixing them up, getting equity, getting them rented out to working class folks, and building out. That's a different game, at least to me.
yeah, I mean, and like I said, like Kevin, you'd see I bought $6 million real estate, and then 4 months later, my $10 million, and then another
It's
6
YouTube
months,
money.
like 14 million. And it's like, where does this money come from? It's not from the real estate.
Right. And
It's
that's it.
obvious.
That's what, yeah. Same in stocks, man. I'll
Yeah,
see guys post, oh, I made $109,000 on this trade. And I'm like, okay, but if he put $1 million in on the trade and made 109, okay. Like that
peanuts.
doesn't, if you don't know the deal, it doesn't, it's just a number they're throwing out.
No, so it's funny. I just don't trade stocks. It's just not nearly as lucrative as real estate. It's just
Sure.
you don't have the leverage aspect. It just I had one thing when United bought. I forget, it was the United bought another airline when they were at their bottom, and a buddy of mine said, "Hey, Tom, I think it's going to go up 15 times." And I thought, well, maybe I'll throw 100 grand at it, but I got distracted with my other stuff, and it's not what I play anyways. But that actually went up 48 times. So 100 grand would have been almost 5 million bucks if I did that. But that's the only incidence that I've ever seen in stocks that comes close to what I can do with real estate, and,
Right.
because yeah, I mean, I've just
Yeah.
made more than that with my money. And
Yeah. And you got to find where your skill sets are. I think too, I do a lot of things, but I've learned them in layers. Like, okay, let's say you start learning land. I got a good friend, this guy named Dan, USA Land Adventures on Instagram. I do a lot of lives with him. That's his thing. And from sitting in New York, he'll buy lots in Florida. And he's made a fortune, but it's like, do I want to stop and learn that? I could, and I'll probably catch on fast. But like you said, I can make more money. I'm a day trader too, and I'll make more money doing that than that,
Right. And I went through a land phase. I went through about 60, 70 pieces of land and made millions of dollars.
Mhm.
And it was, and I still buy land. I still buy land.
It's
But
seasonal too, right? Like sometimes that's working, sometimes house flipping's working.
I mean, what I don't consider it seasonal, but to me, everything I buy, I don't buy it unless it's worth more. It's that simple.
Right.
That's my hedge against, a downturn or anything else. And if you speculate, you can get killed immediately. You can be upside down immediately. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's why I just don't do it. And but so let's talk about you buying real estate, and then you said that you started to do the stocks because you have a channel Full Auto on Instagram. And I mean, how would you describe your channel, what you do?
Originally when I started posting, it was more of I wanted to be like a Dave Ramsey. Not Dave Ramsey, but similar, just kind of helping people get the buckets right.
Sure.
It's ridiculous to even start trying to do real estate if your credit's bad and you owe it, you got to get all that cleaned up. And I thought I had this vision of like a radio show. People would call in and tell me their dumb situation, and I'd try to help them.
Sure.
I love helping people. And I put out I have this book called You Don't Have to Die Broke. It's like my main thing, and it's free. I just give it away as an ebook. But what I found is when I started giving it away, people would text me and go, "Hey, I want a hard copy." And that's how I sold the hard copies, was giving away the ebook.
Is
And
that right? Well, maybe
yeah,
I'll learn something from you.
yeah, I would just give it away, and then I'd have a special in there, and people go, "Man, it sucks to read it on a phone, man. Let me send you $20." And and that's where I started. I saw this guy getting out of his car, and he puts these plastic covers over his shoes. He was a YouTuber and said these shoes were $600. He wasn't going to get them dirty in the construction site. And I was so repulsed by that, being a blue collar guy, that I couldn't imagine having shoes so expensive I couldn't wear them in a house that I owned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
and then I was like, all right, I got to do some videos here, man. This is ridiculous. And he was like telling people not to do anything and hire it all out. I'm like, yeah, that's great if you got the money and the resource, but if a kid's just starting, he's probably not hiring a crew,
Yeah, everybody has this, not everybody, but I always say the masses are the asses, and unfortunately it's true. And people, it's people wanting to be a meet Kevin, or a Graham.
Yeah.
And you might as well wish you were a leading man in a movie.
That's what I say. These are outliers, and you got to recognize that And there is this thing in life called talent. And there is this thing in life called skill. And no matter how much you want to play the piano, you may not get a job in an orchestra. I mean, and so I just began to kind of realize that but as I put my book out, I have this one chapter in there on how I buy dividend stocks. And everyone would come at me about that one chapter.
Mhm.
All of a sudden I had all these questions, like you said. And I'm like, well, damn, I can't answer all these questions one at a time. So I start doing these videos covering the stock stuff. They take off. My book starts selling. And so I'm just kind of pushed into that way. And then I found like there's a genuine interest in what I'm doing here. And I have my own strategy I've created and have courses on it. And I just started teaching it. And then immediately I had some influencers snag it and start using it like it was theirs. And there's these influencers that will jump from Airbnb to wholesaling to real estate. They just hop from thing
They're
to
all
thing.
over. No, listen, they're salesmen.
Yeah, and they'll snag your stuff. They'll snag your stuff, repackage it as theirs. And
Yeah, yeah. For me, that's difficult to do because I
Yeah.
actually mentor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yours is super involved. I love that, man. My buddy Dan's is the same way. It's so you can't possibly want to know and leave there not knowing. You know what I mean? Your stuff is so direct, and those are real people right there showing you real deals in this place in America. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I began teaching the stocks, and then it took off from there. And I'm constantly having to remind people, though, I've been doing it 24 years. I've been living off my kills, so to speak, for 15 years. No job, no W-2, no business other than make money with money. Partly, I think that slowed me down. I think that's why I don't have 20 or 30 million, is along the way, I'm living, paying bills, raising kids, private school, vacations, off of profits.
Free time is worth a lot,
Yeah, and I didn't have a job. So to me, that was super valuable to just,
Sure.
which allowed me to sit home and really study the markets and how stocks move and picking the right ones. And I just got better and better at it. And that just kind of became my thing, even though my wealth was built over here. And
So
that's why I follow guys like you and everybody. I love that. But this happens to be what I get paid to teach.
yeah, sure. No, I mean, that's the thing about real estate that I love so much is, and I've been doing it 42, going to be 43 years here pretty soon. And so I have examples of getting rich slowly, assets that I've held for over 20 years.
Mhm.
I've got other, everyone's like compartmentalized. I've got stuff I've flipped and, made hundreds of thousands in a couple weeks. And yeah, and those are great things, and it's cool. And that's why, I always tell people, people find me, I think it'd be a pretty relevant mentor with real estate because
Sure.
I continue to buy the same kinds of assets that I bought when I was 19 years old. And houses, buildings, and land. And if you can get skilled enough, you can have that diverse of, a skill set that
Yeah.
it'll really serve you well. And like I say, but the best part about real estate is exactly what you're doing. When you've got enough to get by, if that's where you want to cut it, or if you want to, do something else, you have those options. And that's what real estate really gives you more than anything. Gives you the options, to do whatever you want to do.
I mean, that's it. There's no way a guy like me, just being I didn't go to college, working class guy. I'm smarter probably than the average person. And you can't outwork me,
It's a different skill set.
Yeah. And that's just skill sets, right? Like forcing myself to read or listen. These are just skills. And some kids have it on a computer, some have it talking. The phone is invaluable to me.
Sure.
I mean, I get guys all the time like, oh, I don't have time for social and I don't have time to be on the phone. I'm like, well, I guess be happy being broke, man. I don't know what to tell you. I make so much money. I mean, me and you texting each other. There's so much available just on a phone within the markets, within real estate. I mean, it's such a powerful device.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. I've got I've got an app called
Mhm.
the Flip Anything app, and I've
Yeah.
actually got a new version of it coming out here pretty soon. But yeah, the phone, it's just a new resource, right?
Mhm.
For accessing information. And if you make money off of information, then it's important. You can get the data quicker. You can be
Like
notified.
your story, walking down the street and you found that lot. Remember you
Yeah.
telling the story one time and you just walking down the street, find a lot. And today you're walking down there. I mean, within minutes, you know who owns it.
Yeah.
If you know what you're looking for, it's such a powerful tool, man. And I've had several to relate it back to stocks. Like one time I'm with the family. I call this I use the same term Kevin does. He calls it the wedge, right? He uses that term a lot.
About buying a wedge deal for your audience that might not know it.
I call it for something slightly different, but I use the same word and I don't know why. And every time he says it makes me laugh. But here's an example. Like I'm in Home Depot and everywhere I look, I see stock tickers. So if you're holding some in your hand, I know the stock and I play this little game with myself and I try to, how much can I remember real fast when I see it? So I'm constantly scanning.
Mm-hmm.
And there's guy next to me and I mentioned something. He worked for Halliburton, long story. And we had just had a big oil spill here in Texas. And I knew Halliburton was connected. And I said, how you guys doing over there? And he laughed. He goes, yeah, it's not really our fault. Our insurance is going to cover our end. He just starts breaking it down for me. And I'm like, really? And we're talking along. And then he goes, yeah, matter of fact, we had a meeting. All the insiders were saying we should just buy as many shares as we can. Really? So I leave there immediately. As soon as I get home, I'm researching. I buy a bunch of shares. I make $50,000. I mean, but I'm doing this all the time, everywhere I go.
So is this day trading now?
No, this would just be me taking it. We'd go research it. I got someone helps me research. I have a chart strategy. We wait for a certain setup. And so we have a bunch on the list. But a lot of times it's as simple as I run into you and you tell me where you work. And I go, oh, how's it going? You're like, man, we're killing it. And I go, really? And then I go, look, but it doesn't say they're killing it. But I just talked to a guy who says they're killing it.
Yeah.
Well, that stuff takes time. They only report every so often. And,
Right.
I've been in a water park and it was a trading for $2 and I saw the money they were making. This money was just flowing in.
Sure.
I start buying shares and a fund took them private at $12 and I bought in at $2. And I've had so many of these just paying attention, just like you do with real estate. You do it. I know you do. You're driving along. You know what that building costs.
I just do with real estate. Yeah. I'm pretty sold.
And you're doing it fast too. A normal guy could not process what you're doing in your mind as you're going down the street probably. They'd be confused by it.
Yeah. So like you say, it becomes second nature to you because
Yes.
you do it so much. So, and so that's worked out well for you. And, so, I mean, give us a day in the life or a week in the life.
I'm lucky in the sense that my wife, I think this light here is my wife is the actual property manager for me, or for us, I should say. So that kind of helps. She's the property manager. So she handles all the day-to-day leases, book paperwork, paying taxes, dealing with contractors. I start off in the morning. First thing I'm up is the markets. I mean, because I do day trade. I do 4 types of trading. And so I'm running about $1 million and we're trying to make money quickly and long-term. So we're doing all of it at the same time, just like in real estate. Some are flips, some are holds. And then me and her meet and talk, because we have some Airbnbs in Florida. And then we've just bought a second home in New Orleans in the French Quarter. And so we're starting to look around there like the barbell, everywhere I live, I want to own stuff.
Sure.
And so I'm day trading, I'm reading, I read a lot, I'm constantly taking in a lot of information. And I do that till about 2:00. And then I go rehab houses. Like I physically work on them. Like last night I was working till 10, putting in a porch. I'm at a level where I don't need to do that. I don't need to be out there working. I don't necessarily, but I'm only 53.
Nice.
I enjoy doing it.
Sure.
After sitting on your butt all day in front of a computer or trading. I like it. I grew up that way, as far as starting my business, I was swinging a hammer and cutting. I enjoy it. It also gave me money to trade stocks. If I painted a house, I saved $3,000. Money not going out, same as money coming in. Now I got money to play with,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, I can tell you, I don't gamble, but I mean, where I would call myself a gambler, is where I've invested in endeavors that I don't know much about.
Yeah.
Those have turned out to be a bad bet.
That's a fast way to learn though, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you the thing you got to be most careful with, when you become, kind of a high net worth individual is that you can afford to throw
Yeah.
good money after bad. And so you get into something you don't want it to fail. Maybe it's something you started up or whatever. And
Mhm.
so you keep throwing money at it because you can afford to, where the normal constraints of starting a business are you sink or swim.
Yeah.
And which is how, it's been the story of my life with real estate and my first business. But yeah, yeah, go ahead.
In my house, we call that rich Gerald, poor Gerald. And if I'm
Rich,
killing it,
what? Say that again.
we call it rich Gerald, poor Gerald.
Oh, Rich Gerald.
My friends will be like family will come over and they'll be like, who's here? Is it rich Gerald or poor Gerald? Because if I'm killing it, it's 20s for everybody. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's start that. Like I'm just throwing money around. And then if I'm not killing it, I'm like, you can't get $1 out of me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they say it's
Your
like
wounds.
Jekyll and
You're
Hyde, you
licking your
know?
wounds. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, because I come from poor,
Yeah.
very modest means too. And when you're raised and go without when you're younger, and we moved quite a bit, kind of like you described. I think it's a blessing because it makes you, you know where you don't want to be. And so
Mhm.
you try to put that as far away from you as you can. And the way you do that is with wealth. It's just the
Yeah.
only way. I tell people, you don't like what's going on in the country. And then of course there's a lot of bad stuff going on. All you can do is make some money because that's the only hedge you have against about a poorly run government. Are they pissing your taxes away? Or they, with the different stupid stuff that they do? All you can do, you can complain about it and be a victim, or but I don't want to be a participant. I just want to be a complaining spectator. So I'm a spectator. When things are going down, I'm just watching it happen. I'm not part of it.
Yeah.
And probably the biggest downfall of our country right now is
And people need to
everybody gets a
ignore it.
trophy. Everybody gets a trophy, and whether
Yeah.
they deserve it or not. And it's like all throughout. There's no reward on merit except in the real world. Like we're in the real world where we're outside of, we're not within the system of welfare, and we're not within a system of working for the government. So when you're, if you're working for the government, or whether you're dependent on welfare, you're sucking on the tit of the government.
Yes.
And unfortunately, and when you're outside of that, and you're a real true entrepreneur, you have the ability to just go far past all of that. And like I say, you don't like it, and you see the weakness that it creates. I like, you think about the Great Depression, and they had soup lines. Well, that's what they should have now, is they should feed people. They shouldn't
Yeah.
get an Obama phone and a place to live, and whatever, pay for their crack or whatever.
Right.
It's fucked up. It's really fucked up.
I used to say that too. We have soup lines. Ours are just digital. We just send it to them instead.
Yeah,
You know,
it's not a soup line. You know what I mean?
right,
You don't have to get out of bed and walk down the street to get something to eat.
right.
You
Be
get a
different.
check. It's bullshit. I don't like it at all. So, and that's probably another reason my YouTube channel suffers, is I don't conform with a lot of the
Yeah. Mine too, man. I lost a bunch of followers back when they had all that anti-police stuff. And I'm like, look, I'm not a big fan of cops either. When I see them, I go the other way because that's what smart people do.
yeah, I mean,
But if we don't have them, I know what will happen.
yeah, yeah. No, there's, they're people,
Have you seen this chick who stayed at an Airbnb and just decided she didn't want to leave? And then the city ruled in her favor that you can't just make her leave. She's come accustomed to this nice house. And it's like, what?
Yeah, no, and like I say, it damages people in real estate too.
Yeah.
Now, you can overstay your welcome. You can't be kicked out. People are getting stimulus and assistance to pay their rent, and they're pocketing it and not paying their rent because they couldn't get kicked out. And
Right.
so there's people that take advantage of the system. And I'll tell you one thing. We've probably got 10 million new illegal aliens, in our country from 260 countries, and apparently half of them are Venezuelans. And we've got some really great people that have come from these countries too. I can tell you, because I rent to them, and
Right.
a lot of them are entrepreneurs. And that's the other thing I've really seen. I've got hundreds of rentals, and so I've got people, and primarily business rentals, and so I've got people that are creating businesses in the USA, and they've only been here a year or two, and
Right.
they're already an entrepreneur. They're not working for a check. They're making money. They're paying rent, and now whether or not they're, getting some help from the system or not, I don't know. But you know what? At least they're doing something with it, because we're in a country where if somebody was on disability and they get their $1,300 a month or whatever they get, well, they get the check. And then if they go to work for somebody, they get the check immediately removed. So there is no path to progress.
Right.
Where, it should be like, yeah, go ahead and let them work. And then, at a certain point, cut the pay in half. So they're still incentivized to keep both, keep the job and the check. And then at some point, the skill will far, outpace the welfare.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
screwed up.
It is. It's shocking, especially when you do kind of like what we do. And I don't have near the rentals you have, but like, I mean, I'll collect 60,000 a year in dividends doing nothing, no phone call, no conversations. And so to see someone, just decide, hey, I'm just going to live on this very small amount is crazy. It's crazy when there's so much out here, man.
No, yeah, but like I say, it's the government that tries to help, that traps and ruins people, to be quite honest. And
Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example. Well, I don't even know about all the welfare programs, right? But you take back in the late 70s, and a person could get 10% on their money from the bank, a T-bill, right? So you get somebody maybe that worked their ass off. Just think about this: somebody that worked their ass off today. Let's just say somebody today has saved $2 million, and it's a little bit different today than now. They'll get a little more money on it, but just say going back 4 or 5 years ago, when they were
Right.
paying 1% at the bank, 1%. So some guy works his ass off, saves every cent, makes a lot of, sacrifices a lot, and he's got $2 million, and he's got it in the bank. Well, in the 70s, he would have made $200,000 a year on his 2 million. Well,
Right.
today,
That'd be nice.
not today, but say 2-3 years ago, when it was 1%, they were getting there. You'd get $20,000 a year on the $2 million you saved. Okay, now contrast that with somebody on welfare, that maybe even with a couple bastard kids, and they're getting $2,000 a month. They're getting $2,000 a month.
It's terrible.
They're getting $2,000 a month. And then the guy that worked his ass off for 40 years or 50 years,
Yeah.
he's getting $2,000 a month on what he created and what he earned and sacrificed created, and somebody else is just getting it for free. And that person,
Thanks to your government.
that person's only been in the country for a year or 6
Yeah.
months.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's why I'm kind of happy to see rates go up a little, honestly.
Oh, me too.
And I know it's going to take a while to adjust all the prices, but I would love to get 7-8% at the bank.
Yeah, I'm not even cash heavy. I just think it's good for the country.
Yes.
My portfolio goes down in value. I don't care.
Right.
The cash flow is the same for me. A lot of people got pinched in the interest rates going up. Ben Mala did. And like I say, Ben Mala, if he had my experience, Ben Mala started later than I did in real estate, and he's younger than me, and he's made more, but he started with a mentor, and he started with somebody that had money, which is a wonderful thing. And he's done a lot with it, and he's a credible, smart guy. But he'd never seen the high interest rates that I started in. And so when you don't have that experience, you don't realize that then all my students all got fixed rates, all refied. Everybody that listened to me and everybody in my class did. They're all so happy that they're not getting stung by this downturn and the interest rates going up. And so, and other people are getting crushed by it. And people that even refied, whatever, 2-3 years ago, they're going to be facing music in 3 years, and because I think interest rates, my personal feeling is interest rates aren't going to be any lower in 3 years than they are today. I think they'll continue to maybe even go up a little higher.
I kind of hope so. As far as, like you said, I'm not too worried about the value of my homes. I mean, obviously we would like them to be high, but
if you're
I'm
going to
more
sell them,
concerned with cash flow,
I
right?
mean,
Like
if you're going to sell them, right? It doesn't matter
right.
if you're going to rent them, it doesn't matter.
And then if they do go high, that means they're high everywhere else. So it doesn't really help you when you do what we do. What's cool though is as they've raised rates, a lot of people, they may or may not know this, but if you're say 70 and you got a lot of money in dividend stocks, why collect 5% from AT&T and Campbell's and Verizon and watch it go up and down and drive yourself crazy if you can just put it at the bank and get 7%? And so a lot of money has come out of the stock market and went into the banking, which brings stocks down. I like stocks down.
Sure.
So then I'm buying stocks now like Walgreens paying 9% dividend yields.
Mm.
And, I own 117 different pieces of companies that pay yields. And so if I can get a quality company, an Exxon paying 6-7% all day, man, I'm on it.
Right. And see, here's the deal why I don't have stocks is exactly that. And what you're talking about is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But when I get a 9 cap on a piece of real estate that I buy, it ends up being a 24% return on investment because I'll borrow 75% of it. But now that's just only 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, whatever. That's because, I'm borrowing the money at 4.5%. So I'm making that, that.
And that's the game in real estate. Because I have a lot of people go, should I do stocks or real estate? And I say, let me quickly break you down the difference. When you buy a house, you get 5-to-1 leverage on average, 4 to 5-to-1 leverage. You put up 20, they give you 80. But you get all the return on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Depreciation, tax deduction. When you buy a stock, it's dollar for dollar.
Yeah, that's the it never has added up for me. And it's
Right.
it's not a good deal for a poor man unless that your skill, I'm not whatever.
Right.
You have a skill that
And the problem, it
expand
takes
on and it
years
serves
to
you.
develop the skill that I developed. I can't, you know how it is. I can explain to you to do push-ups. That don't mean you can do them.
Yeah,
It takes years. And there's, I keep telling people too, I could sit down and show you everything I know. There's still a thing called talent. There's still a thing called intuition, and there's still a thing called experience.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you've been in a deal
intuition,
where you're just like, I'm out of this deal. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't feel right. I'm out. And you can't teach that.
yeah. No, well, and even intuition is you're just tapping into a knowledge base, a database that you've created over the period of your lifetime that's making you feel the way you feel. So,
and it's just a pattern, right? You'll see this. You're like, man, my biggest, my two largest assets besides real estate, which will probably be my personal home and my beach house, was Uber and Bitcoin. And I waited for the total collapse of Bitcoin and got down to 15,000. I know they're going to be an ETF. I know this is not going anywhere. I know this. I've spent thousands of hours studying it.
mm-hmm.
So we start buying aggressively. Well, it's 38,000 now. It's up 128% in less than a year. And then Uber, this is what, to me, it's not rocket science. If everyone in the world has it on their phone, there's 128 million people a month using it. That's a lot of money. And if they just raise it $1, it's $1 billion, just like that. They just made it up. So during COVID, it dropped to just ridiculous prices. So we bought a bunch, and Uber's one of the best performing stocks of the year. So I'm up 92% in the stock market this year.
Right.
That is almost all talent and experience and intuition with a little bit of just doing common things you're supposed to do. And they're like, well, why'd you sell this and buy this? I don't know exactly. I just felt like this was the play, from what I'm reading, what I'm seeing, and what the Fed's doing. And and we use charts.
It's hard to articulate.
Right.
Like I say, I don't, I don't pretend to know stock. And like I said, and I don't recommend it.
Yeah. No, I get it.
I don't, because most people do lose. Most people
do. And we trade in a community. I run a thing called the Money Flow Trading Society. And it's kind of like your mentoring program, but it's for stock people. And
Sure.
I've got all these requirements before they can get in. They've had to have read this. They have to have this because I just don't want dummies in there.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I say no more than I say
Yep.
yes. It ain't
You
about
did that to me. You sent me text, started asking me questions.
yeah, I know. I know a lot of people have a hard time believing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
true. I just don't. I want, like I say, I want to go out of this world with a legacy of people happy they ran into me, happy
Yeah.
they learned from me, and and I've got a lot of millionaires now in my class, and so and other people that have just made major changes. And like I say, it feels good when you all of a sudden you see, I've never hurt for money. I've never hurt for money my whole life. I mean, I've been leveraged to my teeth at times, but
Right.
it's not something I couldn't fix without selling something. But had a very privileged life, and for me, uh, you see people, I see people my age, and I have a lot of, I have tons of people, blue collar people that work for me. And so I understand the stress of people that want to have their first home, or people that want to retire, people that want to put their kids through school. And, and people do anything, I've had people steal from me to
Yeah.
do the same, to do that, to help put their kids through school. And, and so, I understand the desperation, and it's easy to take the high road when you're wealthy and when you have money. It's just easy to take the high
Yeah.
road. To be
Well,
quite-
all these, you see where they're stealing from the stores in groups.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The rate, and
That gets people mad, but there's part of me the other day, I was like, man, I really feel sad for that lady.
I don't have much sympathy for thieves. I think the best thing
Mhm.
for a thief is to get, to get caught.
And I agree 100%. But for whatever reason, the other night I saw this lady and she was kind of overweight and looked like, I don't know. Obviously I'm reading into a lot on her.
Sure.
And it just kind of made me sad. I'm like, man, imagine being in such a spot that I would steal a $9 shirt.
Yeah. No,
And it's
listen,
like, here I am, I'm crying about what to do with my beach condo that's paid for because of the HOA fee.
yeah.
You know,
No,
I mean, these are, and it's like, wow, I'm so blessed. Yeah, and I know I couldn't help her. It's nothing like she's not going to listen to me probably, but like you said, though, it's easy sometimes to get too judgmental and forget that when you get desperate, you can do dumb things. And maybe she's a good person and just like needs to make rent or doesn't have Christmas. I don't know. And I don't want to make excuses for everyone, but I do feel the older I get, I do at times, I think back, man, I would have done a lot to, but I never did that.
yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I teach this thing called the 8th day. I think in the beginning, when you start, if you're a young man, if you're taking days off and you don't own properties and you don't own investments and you're willing to take a day off, you are letting your family and country and God down.
yeah. I mean, I got mixed thoughts on that. I mean, the
I've never taken a day off, Tom. Never.
well,
You don't either.
well, I mean, I have an easy job. I mean, when
Right.
I'm driving down the road, I'm looking, you can say I'm working, but I mean, I might catch something and catch something that nobody else catches. Most people don't, but it's really not work. It's an easy job. In other words, in an investor's life is not that difficult. I've had a lot of theft this year. I had 105,000 in fraudulent checks written out of my bank.
Mhm.
I've had a backhoe or no bobcat skid steer stolen. I've
Yeah.
had thieves shut the power off one of my buildings, climbed up, sawed up the uh the conduit to pull out copper that's as big as
Oh,
my fingers, pulled out 2 or 3 400 feet of copper,
I had
$50,000 issue there. And and I got insurance for all this stuff, but
right.
um and I'm not even sure how we got on this subject exactly, but I mean, I don't have much empathy for the thieves. I put a woman in prison and her husband. She stole checks, wrote fraudulent checks out of my account. Uh,
Jeez.
she got 3.5 years. He got 18 months. She asked me if I would, help her at the parole hearing. I said, no, I didn't at all. They took a car that they bought that they were having repossessed. They sold it to a pregnant woman, took $5,000 cash from a pregnant woman, let her take the car. They said, okay, you can give us the other 15,000. We'll bring you the title. They didn't have the title. And so when the woman got home, they called the repo guy and told him the address where they could go pick up the car. So these people were heartless, and, people need to be dealt a blow. If you're going to be a thief, you need to pay for it. And
Right.
there's a better way. And like I say, people come to the country here with nothing, and they create a business, and because they see the opportunities here. And I don't want to make excuses for anybody.
That's work. That's work. And when I started, I just didn't have money. So it's okay. If I want to get into real estate, I can't just take the weekend off. How am I going to get into real estate if I ain't got no money if I'm off on the weekend?
No, I think it's good to be single and work your ass off.
That's what I'm saying. Not your whole life, but in the beginning.
Yeah. If you
Because
got
I coach a lot of guys like, well, I don't have the money. And as we're talking, they take 120 days a year off. And I'm like, bro, what if you made $150 or $200 on those 120 days?
Yeah.
Now
No,
you're in the game.
right. And I had, and it's rare. I mean, I've had employees in the past, companies that I've owned. And I remember telling one guy, he said, hey, because I'm selling, he was upset. He wanted to raise. And he said, I'm selling tickets. I'm scalping tickets to make extra money. I go, good for you. I go,
Yeah.
so like, you don't think I do something other than this? You know
Yes,
what I mean?
exactly.
And and that's the thing is, that's what separates the
Mhm.
haves from the have-nots, is that the willingness to work. And
Yeah, yeah. And I when I got into Airbnb, I would watch all these gurus on YouTube. Back to what we're saying, I'm like, this is all ridiculous. I don't even want to learn for any of these people. So I just found some people that had real Airbnbs, and we started like talking to them. And most people will just talk to you, and they'll tell you their experience.
sure.
And I just start researching on YouTube. Then I just go buy one. Like you said, you got a little money. Let me just do this.
Sure.
And use common sense. And then I realized I don't really like this model too much. People damage your stuff crazy. Have you tried that model, the Airbnb model?
No, I got no interest in it. Listen,
Yeah,
I like renting, and I tell with business,
yeah,
and I've had some companies, and I still have a company, but my deal is I just want to own the four walls.
right.
That's my business is provide the walls, and that's all I want to do.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it. We had one put stuff on the stove and caught the place on fire and flooded it's been nothing but one problem after another. And yet I have rentals that I've had rented to the same person for 14 years and they never call me.
Now you don't get the premium out of them that you get out of an Airbnb, but an Airbnb is a job. It's a job.
Well, and that's what we discovered is this is a business like a job, and it's not
It's a very
long-term
little
renting.
hotel. It's a very
Yes.
little hotel.
Yeah. And I had a ton of guys like yourself telling me, oh, you want to start a business? I'm like, no, I'm just going to try it because I'm thinking maybe I could retire out of all my little rentals into a bunch of these little Class A Airbnbs all over these beautiful lakes. And I would just travel and trade stocks. I had this. Yeah, it doesn't work that easy.
Yeah, no, you should have a bed and breakfast, Gerald. You can have people in your home and make them breakfast. And
we were in New Orleans and we're at this party and it's a mansion and it's zoned for a hotel Airbnb, 9 units in this mansion. So I'm running the numbers and the lady's deal is she owns it outright. She says, give me $1 million down. I'll finance the other $1 million tax interest free.
Yeah.
I'm like, interest free.
Yeah. Just numbers, right? You got to figure it out.
And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, interest free. And she said, interest free. It's worth more than that. So you're getting it interest free if you put $1 million down. She wants to walk away with some money.
Yeah.
And my wife's looking at me and she's like, this is a hotel. We are not buying a business.
Yeah. No, but like you say, if you could just close the deal and kick everybody out and then just
That's what I told her. I was like, man, we could buy this, just fix it up, get it running. She knows how I'm thinking and just turn it over to an investor that wants it done, fixed and working. I can't help it. I can't even go to a party without trying to buy the place sometimes. I mean,
yeah. I have a thing I tell all my students and I tell myself more than anybody, easy to do, hard to undo. And that's my walking mantra as I always tell that to myself.
And I think if you don't have that a little bit, you're going to struggle trying to be successful at this. Don't you think? I mean, you got to have a natural interest in these things.
It's good to have a passion. If you have a passion for something, I mean, it's like, I could talk to somebody and my eyes will glaze over and I don't hear a word they're saying if I'm not interested. It's just my whole life.
Same with like stocks. If if you don't like to read and you don't like to look at charts, you know, if this not your thing, and you're like, well, I just want to make some money. It's like, dude, I can't teach this to you because you want to
No,
make
no.
money.
Listen, if you try to talk to me about stocks, I'm going to be
Yeah.
thinking about lunch. You know, I mean, it's not going to work.
Right.
I don't have any interest. I don't. You know.
Yeah.
But if we
I
talk,
know your sons do. I've heard you say that.
yeah,
I need to send them my book, man.
yeah. They love price action trading. Is what
That's what I do a lot of that. I need to send them my book.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Um,
you got the ebook. I'll tell them to pull it up. What's the name of your ebook again?
It's called the money. Well, my trading book is called the Money Flow Trading System. I'll send you a copy and you pass it to them. It might be of interest. They probably know a lot of it.
Is it on Amazon?
It is, but I have a better copy. I'll send it and you can just share it with them.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, it's that's my one I make my most money on selling, and it's just my strategy, you know, that's all it is. And it's not like you couldn't find it on Google if you wanted to spend 100 hours looking. I mean,
Oh, okay. Do you have it on an Amazon book or no?
yeah, I have it on Amazon.
Okay,
And
okay.
then I do a podcast for it. I do two podcasts, one called Mastering the Trade, and then I do one, it's a book study of the Science of Getting Rich book. I've been doing that for almost 5 years, man. I just take a chapter, I work through it. I started doing that just for me. I wouldn't even tell people I was doing it. I had like 50 episodes before I even told people. That has actually brought me a lot of clients who kind of were tiptoeing around the thing. They listen to my teaching on the Science of Getting Rich, and then they start going down the rabbit hole. Next thing you know, they're looking at a property, you know? I mean, that's how it works.
You know what? And I don't believe in gambling, but there's a saying: if you don't buy a ticket, you can't win the lottery. Which I just take that as, you know, if you don't stick your foot in the water, or, you know,
Right.
get what, you're not going to ever learn anything. So, you know, you just want to make sure that, you know, you're careful, you know, to
Yeah.
begin. And
Can't get a blackjack if you don't sit down at the table.
yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, that's what I always use.
Well, the thing is that, like, if everybody wants to own a home. So if you're going to buy a home, it's a no-brainer that you should get some skills to buy your first property, because you want to have first one. And if you get some skills in the beginning, you'll make the best choice possible. And unfortunately, like I say, there's people that just feed off of people's emotions, and people that want stuff. And you know, and
There's a lot of entertainment out there. People will think they're training or learning.
they're not learning anything.
They're just being entertained by people.
Well, and some of them get lured into programs where they're told they're going to learn something, and they just end up becoming, you know,
There's a famous
unpaid
YouTuber.
employee to make cold calls.
Right. There's a famous YouTuber. He tweeted yesterday, what are 2 skills you could use in 2024 to maybe make a lot of money? And I was reading all of these people's comments, and it was stuff like determination, read more books. And I'm like going through this, right? And I'm like, I replied, skill saw, a tape measure, and a paintbrush.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
I know. My first thought is common sense, but it's very difficult to just pick that up. But no, I agree. And I do tell people all the time, you know, you got to get a skill set, you know, and if you can read a tape, it'll help you figure out numbers later on also. You know, I'm a carpenter, you know, that's how I started. And
Yeah. That helps you deal with contractors because you know what's up. Like, you know what it should look like and how it should go. I mean, yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what else can we cover?
I will tell you the one, my connection to real estate and stocks, and some people will ask me that, like, how'd you, the guy that got me into real estate, actually, when he retired, had put a lot of his money into the stock market. And since he was doing it and he was my mentor, so to speak, in real estate, anything he was interested in, I kind of got interested in. And, you know, and he just did dividend stocks. And he, you know, and it was just simple ones. He'd be like, Gerald, simple strategy. When the market goes down, I buy McDonald's, Verizon. It wasn't complicated.
Sure.
And so I started kind of doing that to lower my taxes a little. And but here's what the game I played is I didn't want to use my money. So I would save all my money to buy real estate, and I would take cash flow from my renters and I'd move that over. And then soon I'm moving that over. Soon that's $5,000 to $10,000 a month. I'm just moving it over, and I'm saving my money to buy houses. And I'm just playing this little game, you know?
Well, that's that's the benefit of passive income is can play with it how you want, you know, you
Yeah.
can play with it, right? You're playing with it. I've done it. I've wasted a lot of passive income, you know, playing with stuff that I, you know, don't know very well.
Right.
And
And next month they give you more.
it does,
It's
it
like,
replenishes it, but I still, in general, I just keep parlaying it into more real estate. And that's, of course, served me well.
and I've run into a thing now where like I'm down the road and what, you know, everybody's in a different phase of life. So you got to be careful as a newbie listening to say maybe Ben Mahala. We both love Ben, but at a certain point you can get older and you're kind of on the top of the mountain, so to speak. And that they might look back and go, oh, I wish I'd have slowed down a little, or I wish I'd have done. It's like, bro, you wouldn't even be where you're at if you'd have done any of that. You know, not Ben, I mean, but you know, like you'll listen to some of these old billionaires and they're like, spend more time at home. And it's like, what?
Well, there's something to that. I'll tell you, if it's an old, I listen to old people, you know, and it's like, you know, you were talking about earlier about getting a skill, and like Warren Buffett, you know, what I like about his, you know, a couple things that I've taken away from him is, one is like he bought Mauser Electronics, he bought See's Candy, and like Mauser Electronics, you know, they supply 95% of what's on a circuit board. It just makes sense, you know, and so it just makes sense, you know. But he likes, you know, goods. He likes, you know, tangible things, you know, products being made or eaten, or, you know, that sort of thing. And the other thing is that when he, as an investor, he like he describes it, you know, you be up to bat and you let 6,000 pitches go by. You take a swing, and everybody's yelling swing for everyone that goes by, and it's a discipline, and so it serves you well, and yeah, and so it sounds like you say you've got your disciplines, and it served you well, and
keeping it simple, man. My houses are soup. I love 2-bedroom, 1-bath. I love it because I can do a lot of work myself. The roof is small, the flooring's small, and the paint is small. You know, stock, same way. Everything for me, the way I day trade, see exact same pattern over. As soon as I see it, I buy. If I don't see it, I don't buy. And you know, something on Buffett, a lot of people don't know this. He became a billionaire at like 49 years old. He's worth almost 200 now.
Yeah.
Since the age of basically 50, he is 200x'd. So imagine if you 200x'd, you're a billionaire. I mean, it blows my mind.
The other thing though is he played with other people's money.
That I was going to say, but at the end of the day, the difference is I invest my money. I've never had an investor other than, say, my wife, I guess. You know, you're a team, but I've never taken $1. And it's different when you manage other people's money because you're getting paid off the pie, you know? I mean,
well, you've eliminated a lot of risk, but I mean, to his credit, he's done a good job, and I'm sure he's made many millionaires, you know.
Oh yeah.
But that's not the case for most people that are using other people's money. People walk away with just a fraction of what they could have, or, you know, I mean, you know, people borrow 25% of they'll take the equity out of their home and pay 5%, throw it in a fund with a, you know, YouTube yo-yo, and they split 8%. So they're negative 1%, you know.
It makes no sense. I've tried to make sense of those deals, Tom, because as I get older, you know, I don't have any descendants to leave money to. I'm going to die with money. So I'm trying to balance spending my money and then, you know, where to leave it. But you think about, you know, say I went today and my wife is here and she doesn't want to manage all these by herself. And I've tried to think of exit plans, and I've looked at these funds like, you know, and I researched them. Because in theory, you can 1031 into some of these funds. But the numbers just don't work. They just don't work, man. I've tried every angle. I've looked at the different setups, you know, they have for this.
Yeah.
I'd rather just put it in the bank. I'm gonna be honest. Like,
well,
if
I
had to
do the math, depending on where you're at, you know, I mean, you can, if you got enough rentals, you can put them in the trust, and you can, you know, things have managed by, you know, you can have your trust managed by majority.
Hey, what I'm gonna do, if my wife goes first, I'm gonna sell everything, put it in Bitcoin, and take it with me.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I am.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take every dollar with me. And they're like, because I had a guy once go, you can't take it with you, and I'm like, that's not true. That's not true. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, Bitcoin, if I have the keys, nobody gets it.
Yeah.
So I can put it all in there, put it on my ledger, and take it all with me.
Yeah. I've never owned a Bitcoin. In fact, I had employees 20 years ago that were, I think they were buying them for $2 a piece or something way back.
Wow.
And, you know, they had some had 10, 20 coins, and I know they didn't keep them because they're working for somebody else still. But had they'd, but again, it's like Warren Buffett calls it trading turds. And that's how I look at it. And I'm not saying, people do buy on emotion. People, make foolish bets. And if you get in early, people come in behind you and you can make money on them. That's kind of seems to be the game. But
Yeah, Buffett will be wrong on that historically.
yeah,
He will.
so? Yeah.
Oh, 100%. It's fixing to be an ETF. It's good. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day. I tell people this: if you're doing something that works, you don't need every asset. You don't need to have an opinion on everything. Because people come to me all the time about trailer parks. I'm like, I don't know shit about trailer parks. I know you can make money with it.
You can. I made a couple million.
Yeah. But I can't know everything, learn everything, and be an expert at everything. And so there's things where, hey, like I did the Airbnb thing. I don't know, man. I don't think that's for me. And I know there's people killing it, but so I think it's a good idea to be open. And I always tell people being an investor is being an investigator. And you don't have to like everything. You just got to, like you said, that swing. You just need to know what you're looking to hit, man. And that's it.
Yeah. Well, once you get, like I say, once you get one little niche down that you are good at, then expand.
One layer at a time, I call it.
It's like getting a skill. It's like you say, learn to read a tape and use a skill saw and a hammer, and that's it. That's a skill. Waiting tables you can do, but if don't just expand from there. Eventually
pick a mentor is a good one. Like so, if you're in Tom's group, you don't need to go join this one and this one and this one, and get.
Yeah, they got to have a passion. Yeah, I mean, like I say, you got to have a passion for it. That's the main thing. And there's just I'll tell you what's hard for me is because I started in real estate when I was 19, and nobody would have any reason to think that I would succeed or fail, really. But so when young people come to me, and sometimes I'm like, sometimes I don't turn down. I turn everybody down for the same reason. It's a lack of common sense.
Yeah.
Or just unrealistic. You just, you know what I mean? It's just like, I ain't gonna waste my time with you. And I feel guilty sometimes. I feel a little bit bad turning some people away. Whether they're 19 or 50, it doesn't matter. But again, I tell people this. It's just like, if you're going to be a teacher, you can't teach third graders and seniors in the same class.
Yeah.
And I'm not a third grade teacher. So.
It's difficult for what we do. I have that problem too. When I put out content, sometimes I don't know where to start, and because everyone's at a different place in life.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, the fake guys out there, they'll take a credit card from anything that has a pulse.
Anybody.
It doesn't matter,
Yeah. And I'm more concerned with, even, my stock thing is I always use the Spartan and the 300, where they fight off the thing. I'd rather have 300 guys or people that are just really into it than 5,000 paying me money that half-ass care, because I can make more. What people don't understand, I make more from trading and doing all that than I'll make from them. And so if I have really smart people around me, I mean, the moment I wake up, I got 50 texts going, did you see this? So that's really helped improve my own skills.
Yeah. No, my students are becoming my peers. It's
right. It's cool, right? It's cool, especially when they hit you with a deal that's in your area and then you didn't even see it. And you're like, what the, I love that, man.
Yeah, well, that didn't happen too much, but
it probably will. And have you been recognized out and about, like not in your town, but at like your traveling?
Yeah, no. The one guy that recognized me, I let him in the class, and he's great. He's a wonderful guy. He quit his job at the church already in 1 year of being in the mentorship. He quit his job at the church, making $60,000 a year, and he made $230,000 in 10 months. The first 10 months are right about there. And so, Chris is great. And he's
heard that story.
A couple properties in one of my subdivisions, and so he's become a little bit of a competitor, but it's all friendly and good. It's just like I say, I'm past the money. I got all the money, I'll need, but like I say, I'm more concerned about legacy
Isn't
leave
that a weird, because other
behind.
people don't understand that, and I'm worried about it too. And I'm fit. How old are you? You're 60.
I'm 61. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and I'm 53. And I worry about this, and my wife doesn't care at all. And she's like, who cares? And I'm like, I don't know why I care. I just do. And I think because I got so much from strangers, so to speak, a guy who had done something, who shared it with me.
That's like you say, your stepdad.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I want to do the same for other. And to me, I get it. It's cool. Like, I'll be in New Orleans. It's a tourist town, and having a house in the French Quarter, and I'll be walking around, and my followers know, I got like 200,000 now. And it's almost not every day, but almost every day they'll be like, hey man, hey, I know you, and then they come up and take pictures, and they'll be like, man, I bought my first house after following you. Man, I get goosebumps. Like, I walk away from that, and I'm like, man, that's got to be good karma, right?
Oh
like,
yeah, no, I get nice, like I say, people that have made money on the book, or like I say, it feels good. Feels good. I mean, and that's what when you got a good product, you can feel good about it. So
Yep. And I do the same. I keep my stuff. I try to keep my groups. I went and visited an influencer here recently. He had 25,000 people in his private group. 25,000.
Oh yeah, that's a
And
lot.
it's 35 a month to be in there. And of course, I can't help but calculate the math when I'm at his house.
Sure. Yeah.
And his camera guy lived with him. The editor lived there. Like, all these people were living in this mansion. And they were, talking about me doing some work with them. And it just didn't work out. It wasn't my vibe, but it was neat to see influencer on that level with the whole crew. And they like roll, and he never holds a camera. You know what I mean?
It almost sounds like too much work.
No, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, I think I'd rather be you than be joining this. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, like I say,
But I looked
you
at
gotta
their
enjoy
thing.
it. As long as you enjoy it, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, I was like, man, I don't know. It was interesting, and it was more of a production than it was being a trader investor. You know what I mean? It was more like we were putting on a TV show than we're actually doing the dirt that I like to do. So, but yeah, man, yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. And so just so we have it clear, your main
Bull Auto 11 on
is
Instagram is
Bull Auto on Instagram.
my main jam. I like Instagram. It's so easy to use. I post a lot on there. I go live a lot on there. We'll have to do a live on there. I get 100, sometimes 200 people.
Yeah.
I need to have you as a guest on our camp. We do a thing called Campfire Real Estate, and they're you may know two of these guys. They're all three professional real estate like yourself, way richer than me. Possible guests for you too. And I've met them, real deal guys, the one guy, Dan, he owns buildings in Brooklyn, but he bought them like you. He bought them in like 80 for like 200 grand. And now
I'll be happy to come on your show. You came on mine.
Yeah. And that one's all real estate. So yeah, I'll get with those guys, and that'd be a good audience I'd love for those, that crowd that comes to there to meet you. Cause I was always impressed with your mentorship. It's the real deal. It's not a lot of, you know how it is with a lot of them. It's just a lot of shuffling and upgrading and trying to get you to sign up for something else.
No, it's terrible. I mean, I hear from the victims. I hear from the victims that get in my class, and it just.
I have a dilemma. My wife wants out of our town. We've been here 25 years. Our son passed away in our house. So
sorry.
That's why I bought a second home in New Orleans, new place, new friends, new everything, every time you go by the store, you don't have a memory. And so my home's paid for, first 500K is tax free, and we'll probably get, I don't know, it's a small country town. So I get 4 or 5.
Where are you at? Louisiana?
Huntsville, Texas.
Oh, okay.
So about an hour north of Houston, little small country town. But we spend most of our time in New Orleans now. Then I have my beach house, but I have 13 rentals here that I need to sell, plus my office, plus my house. But man, there's nothing to roll it to, That's the
how do you hold the title? Maybe
I got half in my.
Is it okay? Can we use this? I'm recording, but I just.
That's fine. Yeah. No, this is all cool. I talk about it often.
Okay, so you got 13 units. How are you holding title to those houses?
11 are paid for.
No, no. How are you holding title?
Half in a S corporation, and then half in my personal name.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So what I think you could do is, you know, what are collectively, what do you figure they're worth roughly?
Let's say 2 million,
Okay.
right around there.
Okay. And so, and you've got $1 million liquid right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I say liquid in equities and stuff.
Right. So what I would do, because those kind of assets are a bit of pain in the ass, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm getting older, so
Sure.
my
They
wife
become more of
doesn't
a
want
pain
to
in
be.
the ass the older you get too.
Yeah, and so we're trying to think. This is the first time where the bank having 5% even made me even consider putting money in there, like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, well, we could just roll up to some much nicer assets, but the cash flow on those are terrible.
No, but what you could do, I mean, in if you could figure out, you don't have to share it here, but just so you figure out what the return is on that $2 million, and then maybe you figure in a pain in the ass fee as well,
Right.
and whatever that is to you. So that's worth taking maybe you take a little lesser return because you're not working for it, depending on what you
Right.
have. That would be a real good recipe for like a reverse 1031.
Okay.
And do you know what I'm gonna
Oh
do?
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So with the reverse 1031, for anybody that's watching, if we use this, is what you could do is you can just take the best ones out of the bunch, the most valuable out of the bunch, the easiest to sell out of that bunch. And what you can do is or maybe you could do it in 2 increments. So let's just say you find your dream property. Maybe I like stuff being near where I live. So let's say you're going to retire in the French Quarter, and you buy, you could buy. I prefer commercial, but maybe you buy a commercial or an industrial building for $1.5 million. And so you take the liquid money that you got right now, you buy the asset that you intend to buy with those properties. So what you do is you take your liquid, your million that you got, or $1.5 million or whatever, go pay cash for that asset, put your other properties in a limited partnership or an LLC, the same one. You can move them from your name right into an LLC or a limited partnership. Now they're all in the same limited partnership. Then what you do is when you pay cash for that other asset, you put it in a 1031. So you pay cash and it's in the name of the accommodator.
Right.
Okay. Now you make a deal to buy that property from the accommodator. You're going to buy it from him. Now you buy it from him with the properties that you put in that limited partnership. So now you bought the property of your dreams. It's sitting there. Now you can take all those properties that you have in there, you can buy it from him over a period of 6 months. So every time you sell one of those properties, all the proceeds go straight into the accommodator's account.
Oh.
And now you defer all that. And so
I didn't know you could drip buy it like that though.
yeah, this is how you do it. This is how you do it.
Okay. I didn't know you could do that.
So
Yeah.
you've got let's just call it, you got your commercial building you paid 2 million cash for, or $1 million cash, whatever it is. And now you take $1 million worth of these houses and you sell one for 100 grand, another one for 100 grand, whatever they are. And as you sell them, they go straight, you don't touch the cash, they go straight to the accommodator. Well, every time they go to the accommodator is cutting you a check for all the cash that came into that asset. So you get
already own
paid.
it. Yeah.
So by the time you sell your last property, you've got to get them all sold inside of 6 months. You now have the asset completely paid for. You've got all your cash back because it's paid for from the assets that you rolled into it. And now you deferred it and you turned it into one easy to take care of property instead of 5 or 10 pain in the ass houses.
Yeah, I like that. I knew, obviously I know the reverse 1031. I'd never done it.
Yeah.
I know you pay low fees, but it's cheaper than taxes.
Oh yeah.
And yeah. And I didn't know you could drip like that though. over a period of, yeah, wow. Is
No,
there a
I took
time?
3 homes. I took 3 houses that I paid on average about 125 a piece for. And I sold those 3 homes for about $1 million, almost $1.8 million. But I had cash besides that, obviously. So I paid cash. I paid $1.6 million cash for an industrial building and then put it in the accommodator's name. And then these 3 houses were all in one partnership. And I then bought this from the accommodator. So every time I sold the property for 600 grand, it would go to him, less maybe a tiny mortgage or not. And then all that cash would come back to me. And, it gave me time. I had 6 months now to sell these. So, in fact, it gives you the option at the end. You just go, you know what? I'm going to give somebody a deal just to get this wrapped up if you want, or you can hold out and get the most for all of it by taking your time. That's the advantage of it, because typical 1031, where you have 45 days, especially when you got multiple properties, you're under the pressure of getting everything sold, getting your property identified, and then getting everything sold in time to put it over. So it's
Yeah,
just a lot
tough.
easier.
It's tough,
And
especially in this market. It's just not a lot of inventory.
yeah, I mean,
I fell in love with Tennessee, and I was up by this river in Tennessee in the mountains, and I'm looking around, and I like to party. I like to party. So I like to party, gamble, and drink and eat. So I love New Orleans, but sometimes you need a break from that.
sure.
And I don't want to come to my crappy little town. So I'm seeing these beautiful hills in Tennessee on a river. And I'm like, man, we should either buy and build here or something. So yeah. So that's what I'm thinking is I was
Yeah, I
thinking
think,
about my wife too. I don't, and I my skill set has gotten in the stock market and what I have going with online and my thing. I make good money doing that. It's silly sometimes when I break off to go paint and go do things, but I don't want to be dealing with contractors and,
no, like I say, you get one building, you get one asset that's worth what your whole portfolio is worth. Just
right.
one building. And now instead of 20 bathrooms, you got 2 or 3 or 4, maybe.
Yeah.
And you've got one asset that, the people don't overstay their welcome. You're not responsible for anything inside. That's all on the tenants. And so then you'll have a great passive income that when you die, it just goes to a management company, cuts your wife a check for the rest of her life, and
Yeah.
however else you want to deal with it,
And it'll probably appreciate better than just little bitty houses. I mean, I'm sure,
Well,
nice.
I
Well,
don't
maybe,
think
maybe
that's
not.
true. To be honest, I've made a lot
Yeah.
of money. I mean, this is why
Yeah.
I flip houses. I primarily flip houses. Houses, there's more of them. So there's more opportunities to buy and sell houses than anything, because there's more of them. Every time you're driving down the road, you look at a car, it's heading to a garage somewhere. And so there's more of them. So there's more opportunities. They're easier to find and flip and make money on. They're also an emotional purchase. So the values
Okay.
go up very high based on emotion, and not based on rental income. So like or apartments or whatever, commercial buildings, industrial buildings, their value is based on income. That's it. That's simple.
That's it.
And right now they're getting hurt terribly, because right now, I mean, I won't buy anything unless I get a 12 cap on it, because if I don't get a 12 cap, it's just not worth it to me. I'm not cash heavy. I'm going to borrow 3/4 of that money, and if I'm going to borrow 3/4 of the money, I got to be getting it substantially under, what I'm paying for it. So if I'm going to pay 8.5 or 8% interest rate, I got to make that 4. I got to make that 4 on the borrowed money, because I
Right.
want borrowed money to equal 1.5 times what I'm getting on my stake, which is 25%. So like I say, if I'm getting 12 on 25%, on the other 75%, I'm making a 4 spread on each one. Collectively, that's 12. So I'm doubling the income, as if it was cash. So simple,
Yeah.
not hard to find. Hard to find.
Beautiful. I was going to
Very
say, you
simple
can't be
math.
finding many of those. Yeah, that's beautiful. You find too, as you get older, those deals, you get tighter and tighter on what you want to even make it worth your energy level, I guess you'd say.
I
Than
mean,
when you were younger,
you
or have
just
you
got to
been
be
that?
patient. You got to look. It's work. You're always looking,
Yeah.
and then when you see the opportunity, like I say, you're quick with math. You you just pounce and take it. And that's really, it's really cool because I got a lot of young guys now in my class and old guys too, over 60. I got one guy over 60 has made $1.4 million. I got a couple young guys that have made $1.7 million. I got another guy 50 just made more than 2 million on one property. Got 24,000 square foot property for 975,000. I mean, you couldn't replace it for less than 3.5 million. And so, and that's in the area like Tennessee. He's in Kentucky technically, but it's beautiful.
I like your idea. Literally is I have called, I don't know how many guys that do what we do or different levels. And I'd say, hey, here's my situation. What do you think? And I've gotten some of the dumbest ideas, and yours was the first one. I'm like, wow, yeah, okay. I like this. Like
I've done it. And I've done it, by the way.
Yeah, you've done it. So it's like, I didn't even realize you could drip them into the reverse. I knew about the reverse, but I didn't know you could drip it like that. And inventory is so low in my area. Here's the weird scenario I'm in. They're 2-bedroom one. Most of the houses are 1,000 square feet, right? If you go on the MLS, there are none for sale. There are no 2-bedroom. Maybe you find one here, one there. And mine are in great condition because I do them myself. They look beautiful. So I'm trying to explain to my wife, but why would I list a house to be the lowest price house on the MLS? And it's an entry-level house. So immediately someone's going to buy it. But I can't get this price that I would like to have for it.
You might. Listen, are they in the same neighborhood?
Well, they're all in the same town. They're all 5 minutes from my house.
Well, then put them all up for sale at the same time, and you'll set the standard.
That's what I was thinking, right? And then, so I mentioned to my realtor, I was thinking about doing a group of 3. Anyway, I talked to her. 20 minutes later, my realtor calls me back and goes, me and my husband like to make you an offer on all of them.
Oh,
that stopped me in my tracks for a second. And I'm like,
a conflict of interest already, but I mean, you not that you couldn't make a deal. But,
right. And I said, let me get back to you.
Now you can't, but she can't be the broker anymore because you need to make sure maximum amount.
And then that turned to my wife and I go, if that's her response, the moment we go to list these, maybe we should slow down on listing these and think this through. Because that's a very fast, I'll take all of them response.
And it's not bad. It's not bad. They may have a money problem they need to take care of. They may have something they need to buy to fulfill a 1031 situation too. I had these guys that wanted to buy a building next to one of them, mine. And I said, look, I'll sell it to you. And I told him I'd sell it for $1,725,000 is what I ended up selling it to him for. And they didn't like the price, but they bought the other 2 buildings next to me, and they did want it. I know they really wanted it. And I said, well, look, I'll sell it to you. I'll give you a first right of refusal, but it's not going to be until I find something I want to buy. And so then I found a building that, it's worth at least $4 million now. But I got it for $2.8 million. It was under rented, and I raised the rents and all that sort of thing as soon as I bought it. But that's another one that I didn't have to do a reverse. In this case, I had a guy ready, willing, that could pay cash. And so what I did was I got that building tied up immediately. As soon as I found it and got it, snagged it. And then I just sold it to these guys, and I just 1031 straight into it. And that, so I'm just saying that was a ready to go buyer, wanted the asset, just like your gal might be for these properties. And if they got the wherewithal to buy it.
Yeah.
But you need to talk to a tax guy, because I don't know. I've never 1031 that was in my personal name. I've never done a 10. Well, I gotta take it back. I have.
I've done one, and it was, smooth. I mean, bada boom, bada beam. That's how I got my beach house. I paid cash. I flipped a house that I bought years ago, and then I threw in the extra difference in cash and just paid cash.
Sure.
Which I'd like to have that 400 back and go do something else.
Yeah. It's been a long time. I don't hold anything. I mean, I hold homes in my personal name, but that's it.
I'm probably going to get out of the Airbnb thing, and that's an easy 400 cash there. And I'm seeing, I mean, honestly, subtract the aggravation fee. If I just put it in the bank at 5%, I'm coming out ahead almost in my own mind, just because of so much aggravation.
Yeah, but how bad are you going to get damaged on the? I mean, that's the problem, right?
Right, the taxes. That's the So I can't do that game, but
Yes,
got
you forget for a minute. Then you
Yeah.
go, "Oh, wait a minute. I'm getting
Yeah.
5% on
Think
half."
about if they just give us our
Yeah.
money, no taxes, that'd
Yeah.
be beautiful. But yeah. So like you said, I'm probably that would be one way to raise a chunk of cash. And then I have some other cash. And then my thought was pay cash for something. Didn't occur to me that I could drip into it.
Perfect.
Back.
Yeah.
Dude, that is beautiful. My wife, and she usually handles. I remember the very first time I ever did a 1031. I was so terrified.
Mm.
I'm,
Oh, because of money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you go to closing, you leave with nothing.
Yeah.
You have
you're giving your money to a stranger.
a stranger's
Hold
got
for
my
you.
and my guy's in New York, and I'm like, oh my God, man, what did I just do? I'm on the phone to him. He's like, yeah, calm down, everything's good. And then yeah, it was just scary. And but once you've done it a few times, it's like
You get comfortable with it, but I still make sure it's a reputable company. They
yeah.
got references. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy that I use, I need to share it more. He does Zoom classes on it once a week to, if you don't understand how it works, and he's been real smart about the way he's kind of handled it using, social and teaching it. Yeah, because I mean, you'd be shocked. I mean, I'm sure you met tons of realtors that they don't even understand a 1031. Like,
Well, most people don't. If you got to do it to really know it, to be honest, until you go through one, it's foreign to you. I mean,
that's how Ben Mahala got so rich, man. 1031 from New York to California, California to Florida, and getting all of those jumps right. I mean, no taxes. The guy's a genius.
yeah. Well, he screwed up on his refis. He's not a genius in that respect.
Well, he tried that. He rode those low interest to the end. I have 3 arms coming due. I have 3 5-year arms. 5 years ago, it was smart. Today, come and do it. I don't know. They're probably going to hit me for 7 or 8. It's a local bank, and they own all my paper, so they're a little cooler with me. But it's still going to be 7, 8.
Can't. You're screwed. You're probably going to pay 8. I mean, it's probably going to be that bad.
And I thought about flipping a house to kill the debt, but they cash flow great. I've raised the rent, so I'm not going to do that. But I had thought about it because now I'm starting to look at everything. It's like, okay, I can get 8% killing this debt, or I could get, you start to kind of, as you get more and more money, look at what makes sense,
Yeah. Yeah. Like
I hate killing equity. I hate losing cash,
Right. Yeah.
If I could put it to work, I'd much rather do that.
No, I've got. I mean, I was telling everybody in the class to, refi the last 2 or 3 years, and so I got everything I had was refied. But again, some of that stuff is coming due in 2026 and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't have that much debt associated with it, but it's good to plan it. It's good to think, and it's good to take your spreadsheet out and go look at when those maturity dates are and assume, okay, now, the money costs me twice as much. The income is going to go down on this property if all things stay the same. And, and then it'll help you prioritize.
It's good to play that game all the time. I do this with my assets. I'm a whiteboarder. I'll get my pits, my marker out, and I just start doing my own stuff. Sometimes I'll film it and I'll get little snippets from reels and stuff from just doing my own.
Sure.
I've started doing this thing too in New Orleans. People that live in the area, I have people know me. I love Coors. I love Coors and Miller Lite. That's my drink. And one of the head sales rep for the whole area, he followed me and he saw I was in the area, hits me up and, hey, you want to have lunch? And I turn those down all the time because I get asked every day. And, most of the time it's just young kids. And he goes, well, hey, I'm the head sales guy. I'm like, well, you should have led with that, bro. Like, I'd love to have lunch with you. And then next thing I know, I'm box seats at the Saints games.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I'm like, man, I like this guy. But then he did it smooth though, but he wanted to talk real estate. But he waits till he butters me for a while. He don't ask me nothing. We just hang out, have a great time, class. And then it comes, But by then I liked him so much, I'd be over at the house. I'm whiteboarding the deals he finds. Me and him are talking. And then, so he bought his first deal, man. And he was so excited.
Oh, nice. No, that's rewarding. I mean, I love a hungry mind. And, like I say, I still help a lot of people for free. People, they get in a situation, they're being taken advantage of, or there's something they're worried about, I'll hear them out.
Exciting. I was excited for him. He got his deal. I'm like, damn, I got to go get a house. Like, he's catching up with me.
Oh, yeah. No, it's motivating. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Keeps
Yeah.
me young.
Yeah, and it's good. It is for that reason. And that's the other thing is when you have a class or a mentorship is the success of the students, they feed off each other. And
Oh, it
yeah,
pushes
it's
you.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a kid who learned my stock strategy, just happened to do it at the right time. That's some of the time. It's just luck and timing. And he bought that AMC before it took off, and they had all the congressional hearings and all that about it. Remember that?
No, I don't pay attention to that stuff. I don't care.
Anyway, it was just a run because of all the money printing during COVID, and Rolexes were going for double, and he just happened to put like 50 G's in there, and it ran it to 550,000 in like 3 weeks.
Nice.
Got lucky, but he followed the strategy. He bought what he was supposed to at the right time.
Right.
We didn't know it'd go that high. And then he goes and pays cash for just like a Lamborghini.
Oh yeah. Well,
Hey, that's the time to do it
that.
if you pay cash, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a depreciating asset, but
Yeah. But what was funny is I'm looking at him like, okay, I taught it to him and I don't have a Lamborghini. So it kind of made me think, okay, I could if I
you
would
do have a Lamborghini. It's just sitting on the beach.
yeah, sitting on the beach. And the funny thing is it made me realize like, wow, I mean, any day, I mean, you just got to keep looking, keep trading and keep looking for deals, and any given day could be $1 million deal.
Yep. No, it's exciting. To me, stocks are gambling. I might as well throw it on a roulette wheel, but
Yeah,
that's
no, I get
my
it.
limited knowledge. But
Yeah. Man, I don't want to hold you all day. I appreciate you. And I love what you said on there. I'm going to immediately talk with my wife about this. I didn't realize we could do them one at a time if we did it reverse.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You just got to get them sold within 6 months.
Too bad you couldn't do that going forward, and then they didn't start the 45 days till you had all the money. That would be cool.
I'm not sure I understand what you just posed.
Like, say you got 12 properties and you say, hey, I want to 1031 them, but I don't want to start till I finish selling all 12.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, this is that. That's
This
what
is that,
is.
but in reverse. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you get there. It is
Yeah,
that.
that is
The only issue is you got to have cash. You got to have money to pay
To
cash for the dream asset. And there are this is little known, but a small bank like yours, maybe they may work with you where, like, let's say you buy something for $1.5 million and you only have $1 million. They'll loan the $1 million or they'll loan the $500,000 and allow it to go into the accommodator's name because it's still secured by the asset. And so then you can roll all your houses into it. And even if you come up short, you're assuming the loan and they'll let you. And so then you got a loan for, whatever.
You're clear with the IRS, and then you can just settle up with your bank.
Yeah. Well, the bank can be in on it. So
yeah. Wow. That's interesting.
Some banks are absolutely will not have anything to do with that, but small banks will. So
Right. And I try to encourage all my students to start local first if you can. They treat you so much better once you get to know them than
you get more relationship in general. I mean, the big banks can sometimes too, but
I was going to ask you too. You carry a lot of paper, right? You're the lender.
No, I used to, not so much anymore. No, I used to. I got this. I mean, this
you've done. Yeah, that's all paper.
It's all paid off now, so I don't do much of that anymore.
Because I got a buddy doing that. That's his out. Is he's doing for sale by owner and 10% down, 30-year note. But it's like, man, I'm way too young to do too much of that, and I don't have enough. If I had 50 properties, doing 10 or 15 like that might be cool.
Well, they're susceptible to a downturn, and people are handing the property back.
Right.
When that happens. I had a buddy that I don't even know exactly, but he might have had 30, 40 homes in Los Angeles that he was carrying notes on. Many of them were seconds, but there was plenty of room. This is back in, he probably started making these sales in the early 80s, and a lot of that paper, the FHA paper and vet papers and all that stuff, they didn't have alienation clauses. So they could assume those notes on the first, and he could create a second, and they would pay him on the second. Well, he had millions of dollars in notes, and this is in the early 80s. And when the earthquake happened in the 80s, all these fireplaces fell in houses. And in LA, they don't do, you can't pay enough for earthquake insurance. So you can't get earthquake insurance. Well, when a chimney falls through a living room, it totals the house basically. And there's no coverage. And so what happened is all of his second trust deeds were basically bad, because by the time they fixed up the home, it wasn't worth what they owed on him because of the amount of paper he carried. So he lost millions of dollars the day of the earthquake. He just said, well, he didn't even want to take the house back, because then he had to fix it himself too. So he just lost all that money. You know what I mean? Of course, the losses, you recoup half of that again, a loss against a gain in the future. So.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You just never know, man. There's so many angles and ways.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's why I try to keep it simple.
Yep. Me too, best I can. Math is simple. So anyways, yeah. Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate it,
Yeah,
Gerald.
man. All right, Tom, and I'll reciprocate. I'll get with you on that.
All right. Sounds good. Let's see if we can get a pose here. Can you put any more light on your face, or come in?
Let's do this.
That's not bad. Okay. So, all right. Well, this will be our cover picture. I got it. You ready, set?
Let me put glasses on. I'll look smarter.
All right. There you go. Ready, set? We'll smile here. All right. All right. Cool. I'll get that clipped out.
Thanks, man. I saw your on Pace. That was funny. Pace modeling.
Yeah,
I don't believe half of
is a masterful scheme that guy's got going.
Yeah, I don't believe half his shit, man.
Yeah.
It's probably half true.
That would be probably stretching.
I was just trying to be nice, but I had my students send me him all the time. What do you think of this? And I'm just like, no, stay away.
Now, zero equity, you know what? It's not worth much.
It's like arbitrage and Airbnb. That is the dumbest thing.
Oh yeah, no, there's apartment buildings going out of business right now because 25% of the apartments are being sublet as Airbnbs to prostitutes. They're basically brothels. And then the amount of Johns coming in and out of these places is killing it for everybody else, and nobody wants to live there. So they're going under. They're going under.
That's what you call unintended consequences, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Gerald, thanks for hanging out and sharing with us. And, stocks not my deal, but for those of you that are interested in stocks and some real estate too, Full Auto, and that's on Instagram. And check out Gerald. He's got a book, The Money Flow, right?
Yep. And then I got a free ebook. You don't have to die broke. Just hit my bio link, YouTube, Instagram, any of those.
I'll put the links below for that as well.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. Thanks again.
Cool.
Appreciate it. Take care.
I
want to learn how to make millions of dollars in real estate. I've made tens of millions over my lifetime, and I'm showing people how to do it. Get in my free webinar. I have it every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. Go to the link below, flipanythingusa.com/webinar. Sign up for it. You can talk to me face to face if you want. Don't waste any time. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You don't want to miss my channel. I've been doing it for years.